attending the race to the U.S. presidential elections 2008 in conversation with the U.S. ambassador to Singapore. The guests of honor will be arriving shortly, and we invite you to take your seats. We appreciate if you could switch off your handphones or keep them to the silent mode to avoid any disruptions during the talk. Thank you. To welcome our guest of honor from the U.S. Embassy, the U.S. Ambassador to Singapore, Her Excellency Patricia Herbold. A warm welcome to Her Excellency Ambassador Patricia Herbold, U.S. Ambassador to Singapore from the U.S. Embassy, Mr. Tia Ching, Senior Director, Public Library Services, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are also graced by the National Library Board members, Mr. Martin Tai and Ms. Sylvia Yap. Let's give them a round of applause. Good afternoon, Her Excellency and distinguished guests. My name is Turu from the National Library Board, your MC for today's event. Today's event is part of Fast Forward series, a library channel specially created to bring you the cutting edge and who's who in various industries. And today's series, you will see our guest of honor, Her Excellency Herbold, share with us the latest US political developments and issues surrounding the elections. And in case you're wondering about the message text box that's on the left-hand side of the stage, well, it's a platform for you to share your comments or even questions you've got regarding the elections, and you can just send your questions to the number on the message text box. Well, before we move on further, may I now invite Mr. Jin Tan, Deputy Director of the Programs and Exhibitions of the National Library Board, to give a short introduction of Her Excellency. Mr. Jin Tan, please.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, Ms. Patricia L. Herbold, U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of Singapore, Ms. Tia Ching, Senior Director of Public Library Services, NLB Board members, ladies and gentlemen. We are delighted today to have Her Excellency to share with us her review of one of the most watched and hotly contested U.S. presidential elections. Besides demystifying the electoral process, Her Excellency will also discuss the diverse methods that the candidates have employed in the new Web 2.0 era. I'm also very pleased today to have our audience, faculty members and students from 3 universities. We have members from 2 foreign universities, several of our schools, our returning Singapore government scholars, members of government agencies such as NICA and PSC, and representatives from the China Society. We'll be having a Q&A session later with all these members of the audience. I expect to have a very animated session. Her Excellency Ms. Patricia Herbold was sworn in as the U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of Singapore in 2005. Prior to that, she served variously as a council member and the mayor of Montgomery, Ohio, the commissioner on the Washington State Gambling Commission, and the chairman of the King County Republican Party. Her Excellency is a member of the present 21st Century Workforce Council and on the boards, amongst others, of the St. Joseph's Orphanage of Cincinnati, the Seattle Art Museum, and the Washington Policy Center. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now invite Her Excellency to address us. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you, Jean, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really delighted to be here to talk to you about the U.S. presidential elections this year. I know from the intense interest that I've perceived in Singapore and other countries that I've visited in the past year that everybody is really focused on the election that we're having in the U.S. this year. But let me start by thanking the National Library Board for providing me this opportunity, especially in this beautiful setting. I hope that you all can see at least one of the PowerPoint screens up there so that you can see some of the fun political cartoons that we've incorporated into the discussion. I'm also going to open a bottle of water here because I've been trying to lose my voice for the past day, so in case I have to pause and drink, I hope you understand. I want to just give an unsolicited commercial plug here. Our U.S. Embassy works closely with the National Library Board in a program we call the American Connections Program. And through that program, we donate books, materials, and bring American programming to the libraries in Singapore. But now to the topic at hand. As you know, the U.S. presidential campaign has been going on for quite some time, and it's not even close to being over yet. The next president will be inaugurated on January 20th next year, and that is just a little more than 6 months away. The new twists to this election cycle have been and will continue to be of great interest, and in some cases, highly entertaining to political pundits and observers. This year's election cycle is unique for several reasons. The 2008 election is the first U.S. presidential election since 1928 in which neither a sitting president nor vice president is running for re-election. As a result, the election campaign began with no clear-cut favorite, led to one of the most unpredictable and wide-open campaigns in the last century. To prove that point, in both the Democrat and Republican races, several different candidates won early primaries and caucuses, and they are not necessarily the two who are left standing at this point. In the 2008 election, several of the 19 candidates who started out in the race were hoping to become firsts in the White House. Barack Obama seeks to be the first African American to be president. Hillary Clinton, who has since suspended her campaign, hoped to become the first woman president. Mike Huckabee wanted to be the first Baptist minister to hold the highest office. Mitt Romney, the first Mormon to be president, and Bill Richardson, the first Hispanic to be president. The 2008 election will see more voters under the age of 25 than in previous elections, due to a boom in the birth rate in the United States that began in 1989. This makes a large group of potential voters eligible to cast ballots for the first time in the 2008 elections, given that the voting age in the U.S. is 18 years. An example of this phenomenon is a website called www.18in08.com. This was started by a group of young people who wanted to encourage their peers to participate in this very crucial election year. On the website, one can register to vote, compare presidential campaigns, candidates, their views, listen to podcasts, vote in polls, and discuss politics with other young people who are interested in the election. The trend toward increased involvement of young people in presidential campaigns is not new. In the last presidential election, which was in 2004, university-age voters drove the increase in voter turnout nationally, with the number of voters younger than 25 jumping by 11%, as compared with only a 4% increase for voters 25 and older. In 2004, campaigns learned that reaching younger volunteers and voters through new technologies and organizations like the nonpartisan group called Rock the Vote is less expensive than connecting with older voters through the more traditional methods like television advertising. Data from Rock the Vote show that in 2004, voter turnout by voters under the age of 30 rose faster than among any other voting group. However, young voters turned out in lower proportions than any other age group, 49% for those under age 30, compared with 73% for those aged 60 to 74. Senator Obama has attracted waves of newly registered voters, young voters, and these younger voters could make the difference in the election results this year. Both candidates, as a result, are courting these voters with techniques that are targeted to the online generation. I thought it would be helpful to give you a brief description of the process of electing president in the United States. We have finally reached the end of the primary season, and are currently in the limbo between the end of the primary elections and the general election. Multiple candidates in each